Hi, welcome to more yoga with me, Emily. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, I teach prenatal yoga as well, or at least I did before these strange times. And one thing that I used to always say in these prenatal yoga classes was never go beyond about 60 or 70% of where you think you can go in a certain stretch because the hormones in the women's body relax in, it means that you can actually stretch quite a bit further than maybe you normally used to be able to. But going that much farther can be detrimental, right? It can become quite destabilizing or unstable. So I don't know why I don't say that more often in my usual yoga classes because I think it's quite a valuable thing. You might be able to find more space by backing out of stretches a little bit, maybe even a little bit more of lift, a little bit of support. So it just so happens that everything that I'm going to do today in this class is suitable for prenatal yoga if you happen to be pregnant, and if you're not, don't worry about it. It's just a lovely sort of hatha class anyway. So we're going to start in a tall seat. You can be cross-legged or on your shins. You might sit up on something like a block or a pillow or a cushion. I'm going to sit up on a block just to give my hips a little bit of a break. And then your hands could rest on your knees or your thighs, whatever feels comfortable for you. And then I invite you to close your eyes for a few breaths. Inhale through your nose. And exhale, sigh your breath away. A couple more. And then continue breathing however feels best for you, whether it's in and out through your nose or your mouth. Notice how your breath is flowing, if it feels really open and spacious. Or maybe you notice some sticky or choppy spots along the way. With every inhale, imagine your spine lengthening from your tailbone all the way up to the crown of your head. With each exhale, a gentle softening of your front body. Inhale to find length through the spine, and exhale to soften. Last few breaths here. You might keep your eyes closed as we start to move here. Inhale to think of lifting your heart, little wrap of the shoulder blades toward each other. Maybe the gaze goes up. And exhale, round through the spine. You can pull through the shoulder blades. Inhale to rock forward and lift through the heart. Exhale, rock back and round. So a couple more of these seated cat and cow undulations on your own time, on your own breath. As deep or as gentle as you need for today. And on your next inhale, come back to your tall seat. And as you exhale, start to draw circles with your torso, down and forward. Inhale back up. So these could be really shallow. They could be really deep. And your head might stay long on the end of your spine, particularly if you get a little bit of vertigo, then single point of focus for the eyes. Or you could allow the head to flop on the end of the neck. Whatever feels good for you today. Keep going in the same direction. Couple more. And then very gently on your next exhale, simply switch directions. Exhale forward, inhale up. A few more. And then on your next inhale, come back, pause at the top. Woo. Gather your equilibrium if you're feeling a little bit dizzy, like I was. Yikes. And then make your way to hands and knees. So sitting up in a tabletop position. Knees underneath hips, toes tucked or untucked. Little draw of your belly button to spine. And then as you inhale, think of wrapping the shoulder blades, looking forward. Maybe you lift the tailbone and hollow through the lower back. If that doesn't feel good on you today, then don't do it. And then as you exhale, tuck the tailbone under, round through the spine. Inhale into cow, exhale round into cat. So I say if that doesn't feel good, mostly that is if you are pregnant. Sometimes women don't feel great doing those big arches, but this cat and cow movement here is one of the best things that you could do every day for positioning of a baby inside you. But anyway, if there's any other movement that feel like you'd like to take, a little wiggle of the hips from side to side, you could draw barrel rolls through your chest, torso. Really, you just want to think about moving and grooving here. Going wherever you need to go, wherever feels good. And your next inhale, come back to center. Little draw of belly button to spine. And then bring your right hand in front of your left. Start to shift your hips back a little bit, finding a little bit of length now through the right side of the body. And then inhale, come back up. And then cross the left hand in front of the right. Send your hips back, finding that length on the left side of the body now. And then slowly inhale, come back to center, little wiggle, release whatever you need to do to release, and then a little draw of belly button to spine. So here you're going to keep your torso as stable as you can. Imagine that you have like a tea set on your back and you don't want anything to move. On your inhale, lift the right arm forward and up, thumb to the sky, palm to the left, and then exhale, bring it back down. And then switch sides. Inhale, left hand up, thumb to the sky, palm to the right, and exhale down. So we're going to keep doing this just with the arms because this feels, for me, really challenging. A couple more each side. Again, keep your torso as stable as you can. And then once you're even on both sides, a little wiggle, a little release. And then take your hands nice and wide, tuck your toes, and then we're going to start to do the legs. So again, as steady as you can through the rest of the body, as if that leg isn't moving. Reach the right leg back. Don't lift it too high, right? Your toes might even just be hovering off the floor. And then exhale, lower it down. Inhale the left leg, and exhale down. So a couple more. Just the leg moving. Really use those hands planted into the ground to find stability here. And then release, little wiggle, little shake. So if that's enough for you, then just stick with just the arms or just the legs. Otherwise, join me. We're going to combine the two into a Superman. So again, torso really steady. On your inhale, lift the right arm and left leg. Exhale, lower back down. And then inhale, left arm, right leg. And then lower back down. So a few more of these. alternating sides. Again, torso as still as possible. I remember when I was pregnant, my good friend and trainer Katie used to put a foam roller along my back on my spine so that I couldn't let it roll off as I was doing these. Haven't done them in a while. Last couple breaths. And then release. Shake it out. Some of you might feel awesome here, moving and grooving. Some of you might choose to rest in child's pose with the knees wide and toes together. Some of you might choose to take downward facing dog for a few breaths. Feet can be as wide as they need to be for your body today. So wherever you need to go, couple breaths. My friends, in down dog, gently lower your knees to the earth. If you're in child's pose, come back up to hands and knees. I'm going to spin to face you. If you would like to spin your mat so that you're facing the long edge of the mat, you might find a little bit more support that way, particularly if your floor is slippy, as we come into gate pose. So inhale, come up to kneeling. You could always double up a mat underneath your knee. I'm going to use a chip foam block underneath my left knee here, and then step the right leg out to the side. So you don't want the foot too far forward of that front knee or too far back. I'm going to imagine that the foot and the knee are parallel to each other. And then that right foot, the toes could be pointing forward. You probably can't see that like mine are. Some people prefer to have the toes pointing out, depending on how that feels on the back of the ankle. For me, toes forward and even slightly turned in, I find that gives a lot more stability. Okay, hug the legs toward each other. Use those inner thigh muscles, little draw of belly button to spine, and then inhale the left arm up to the side. As you exhale, fold over to the right slightly. So think of both sides of the body staying really long. And the idea now is to find lots of space in this left side of the body between the ribs and the pelvis. And then try not to collapse that top shoulder. Open it up to the sky. And then inhale up to center. This time exhale over to the left. Maybe your hand comes to a block. Maybe it comes all the way down to the floor. And then for a couple breaths, keep that foot on the floor, press the hips forward, and that top arm might reach up to the sky, or maybe you sweep it over to the left edge of the mat. And then from here, if you'd like to, maybe you de-weight that top leg, and you can play a little bit with movement wherever you need to go. If there's a grab of the top foot that feels really great for you, then feel free to go there. Okay, and then inhale all the way back up. Exhale over to the right. We're just going to flow a little bit with the breath. Inhale high. Exhale over to the left. Once more, inhale up. Exhale to the right. Inhale. Exhale to the left. Good. And then come back to center. Whoo, pause here, and then bring your hands forward in front of you onto the floor. Hug the upper arm bones toward each other. Little draw of belly button to spine, and we're just going to do some very mini push-ups here with that right leg out to the side. So it's almost as if you're just trying to bring your nose to the floor, or maybe kiss the floor, or bringing your forearms down to the earth. Rather than elbows out to the side, think and bring the forearms down. And then pause here. A little bend in that right leg. Heel and toe that foot in. And then turn the toes out. And then come up. So this is kind of like, I don't know, a Romeo position. Right? So it's half kneeling, but your leg, one leg's turned out, one leg is neutral. And then bring your hands to the floor in between those two legs. And this is where you can get a little bit curious about where those arms want to go, and where the hands want to go, and how high or low you want to get into the floor, how much you want to get into the hips. If you have blocks or pillows, you could bring them underneath your forearms. And a couple more breaths here. But again, don't go too deep. 60 or 70% of where you think you can go. The idea is to find more space through backing out of the depth. And then slowly come back to hands and knees. A little wiggle, a little shake. If you're using any padding underneath your knee, then switch it over to the right side. Step the left foot out to the side. Again, toes either pointing forward or out to the left. And then inhale, coming up to gate pose. So sometimes it can feel a little bit crunchy on that hip. So you might need to play with the foot further forward or back, or even turning that foot out. It doesn't matter if the whole foot is on the floor. That external rotation will often give you a lot more space for the femur to come up without banging right into the hip socket. So whatever feels good for you, right? Particularly if you felt it feels a little bit crunchy on that side, then just play with the positioning of that leg. And then inhale the right arm high. Exhale over to the left. So really squeezing the bum for stability here. Spiral the upper right ribs open to the sky. You're not too far over. You're finding that length, that lift. Last breath here. And then inhale up to the sky. As you exhale, go over to the right now. So you might hover it, maybe hand comes down to block or pillow or the floor. And then think of spiraling, right? Those upper right ribs, left ribs rather, open to the sky. Top arm might reach up, or you might sweep it over your ear. And then maybe you play with de-weighting that top leg, right? And go wherever you need to go. Movement, stillness, any kind of pose that feels good here for you. And then slowly inhale, come all the way back up, and let's link those two sides. So exhale to the right or left, inhale up, gosh. And now over to the right. And inhale. Exhale to the left. Inhale center. Exhale right. Inhale back up one last time each side. Inhale up, and then bring your hands to the floor. In front of you, little hug of the legs toward each other, belly button to spine, and then we'll do a few of those weird little push-up things. It's kind of like you're just bowing to the floor. If you wanted to do more of a push-up, you can. Last breath here. Pause once you're up, and then heel and toe that left foot in a little bit, and then turn the toes out, and then come on up to that Romeo pose. Find your stability, see how this feels, adjust if you need to, and then maybe it feels good to stay up, maybe you start to get in to the hips a little bit, and I guarantee that it is going to feel like you want to go somewhere different on this side that you did on the first. Well, maybe not guarantee, but for me, I really, really want to go somewhere else. So wherever you need to be for a few breaths. Again, make sure you're not going too deep. And then slowly back yourself out of the depth. And then swing your knee to the floor, a little wiggle or shake. Again, you might stay here, moving and grooving through cat and cow. You might choose to take child's pose or downward facing dog, wherever you need to go for a few breaths. And then if you're in child's pose, meet us either in hands and knees or downward facing dog. And then let's look to the top edge of your mat. And then on your exhale, walk, step, or hop forward, standing forward fold. Again, your feet can be as wide as you need them to be today, or as narrow, whatever feels good for you. Maybe a little sway from side to side. You could rest your elbows on your knees or thighs for more support. Let the head hang heavy though, neck long. And then fingertips to shins or blocks. Inhale, little partway lift. Exhale, fold. 2 more. And then bend your knees, bring your hands to your hips, wrap your elbows toward the sky, and then charge the legs. Inhale, come all the way up to standing. Whew, shake it out a little bit, reset, whatever you need to do. And then just find a fit hip width apart in the feet. Now this is not something that I teach all that often, but it's really fantastic for engaging the glutes, which we all have probably difficulties engaging the glutes these days. They don't fire as often or as quickly as we need them to. So a little micro bend in the knees, and I want you to squeeze your butt, like as hard as you can. Still breathing, right? Little draw of belly button to spine, but squeeze that butt. Like imagine you're really showing it off to someone walking behind you. And then release, little wiggle, shake it out, and then ready, one more set. Squeeze the butt. You're just going to squeeze about 10 seconds here. Like you're making diamonds out of your butt cheeks. That might have been rude. Release. And then one last time, squeeze the butt hard as you can. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. Keep breathing. Right? And this will just help fire up those glutes, give you a lot more stability and a lot less low back pain. Really shake it out a little bit, little wiggle, maybe get everything going. All right, take the feet nice and wide, turn your toes out, little draw of belly button to spine, inhale here, exhale, sit down into your squat. So the feet are nice and wide, and you want your knees to go back to the baby toe edge of the foot rather than letting them cave in. Right? A lot of the time I see the squats like this where the spine is upright and the knees are caving in. You want the hips back and the knees back. You can rest your hands on your knees or thighs. You can even do like the 80s shoulder dip thing, which feels, quite good. But we're just going to stay here in this squat for a few more breaths. Right? You can be moving, grooving. You could do the stoic yogi thing, whatever you need to do so you can stay here in those legs. And then inhale all the way up. Exhale back down. Inhale up. Exhale down. Last one. Exhale down. Okay. And then slight two. Come all the way down with those hands. Gently start to straighten the legs and then turn your toes parallel or even slightly turned in. Wide leg forward fold. You might have blocks or pillows underneath your hands for a little bit more support. If you want to go wider with your hands, then go wider with your hands, with your feet, then go wider if you wish. But imagine that you're hugging the legs toward each other rather than pressing them away. Right, so it's really quite active here. You might stay here, or if you'd like a little bit of rotation, bring your left hand to the floor. Inhale, right arm up to the sky. Exhale down. Inhale, left arm. And down once more each side. Really nice open twist. So there's lots of space. Last couple breaths wherever you need to be. And then bend your knees, heel and toe your feet back into the center, and slowly come up to standing. Shake it out a little bit. Kick out the feet. Okay. Take your feet shoulder width apart. You may be mat width apart depending on if you're on your short edge or not. Toes turned out. And then sit all the way down for a squat. Now, if your heels are lifted, that's fine. If you want to try and get them on the floor, then take your feet further apart and turned out more. Wrap your shoulders onto back. If this is not a good place for you today, then go back where we were with that wide squat and resting the elbows on the knees or thighs. Couple more breaths here. Wrap the shoulders onto the back. Squatting is so good for us. We really should be doing it more all day, every day, rather than sitting in chairs. But there we go. Chairs are comfy. I get it. Last couple of breaths here. Maybe you de-weight the hands. Right, so there's buoyancy here if you had to stand up. And then however feels good for you, maybe bring the hands behind you. Release your legs. Shake them out a little bit. Little windshield wiper of the knees. And then bring your feet in front of you, hands behind you, fingertips pointing back. Wrap the shoulder blades toward each other. This might be enough of an opening for you through the chest. If you'd like a little bit more, press into the hands and feet, shift the hips forward, and then really start to lift your heart up to the sky. Think of pressing through the index knuckle mounds. Last couple breaths here. And then slowly bend the elbows, shake out the arms a little bit. And if you're comfortable rolling down to the floor, then roll down to the floor. If you're pregnant, I don't suggest it. You might roll to your side and then onto your back. Hug your knees into your chest, little rock from side to side. And the knees can be wide. And then bring your feet to the floor, mat width apart, and allow your knees to hang over to the left. This might be enough of a little twist for you, very, very subtle twist, but it's nice for the hips. Some of you might choose to hook the left ankle over top of the right thigh, and then maybe you squeeze the right bum and reach the right arm back along behind you. Or you can let it be super passive and just no activity through the bum, whatever you need. And then slowly, gently unhook the leg. Inhale the knees back to center. And then when you're ready, take them over to the right. Maybe you stay here. Maybe you choose to hook that right ankle over top of the left thigh. And again, that left hip can be just hanging out, totally passive, or maybe you squeeze the left butt to lift the hip up a little bit more, getting into those hip flexors. You can reach the left arm back and up to the left. And then unhook the legs, slowly come back to center. Little windshield wiper of the knees. If you feel comfortable on your back, then stay resting on your back. Some of you I know will prefer resting on your side. You could even prop yourself up with some pillows so that you're on an angle and then lie back, or maybe you just come to a seated position, seated meditation for your rest. Wherever you need to go, take a few breaths. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh your breath away. A couple more. With each exhale, let your body melt a little bit deeper into the earth. And let go of all breath control, all muscle tension or gripping, particularly in your face or your jaw. Stay here longer if you can, 5 or 10 minutes. Thank you so much for joining me today. Namaste.